In this Marvel Rivals Hela video, I've got some tips for how to aim better with her, the best crosshair for her, and some settings that you could change to make you play better with her. The aiming tips I think will be really useful, especially for anybody that struggles to aim with her against targets like Spider-Man and Black Panther. More on that later. Let's first start with the crosshair that I've made for Hela. I think any hit scan character really deserves a crosshair that is just really simple and doesn't obscure your view. So a nice green dot for Hela works well, but we do have something else on this crosshair. This bottom line can be used to know where to line up the orb. As long as you aim the line at their head, it will always hit the target up to a maximum distance of about 30 meters. Longer than that, then you will need to start aiming a little bit higher, but 30 meters and closer, and you can just aim a little bit up and you're always going to hit it. So it's just a little bit of a guideline for you if you're finding that longer range, you're not able to hit this orb. Now, for everything else, including this ability and the main attack, you just want to aim on target. Now, here's a look at the settings for this crosshair. As always, there will be a link in the description with a big document showing the settings for Hela's and every other character that I've made a crosshair for. Now, let's talk about another setting that you could do on Hela. There's a couple things here. Hold to fall slowly and auto slow fall. Now, by default, what happens is when you use your bird and then leave it, you can hold down space to slowly go down to the ground. Now, if you like using this feature, but you find it a bit awkward to hold the space bar down or the jump button if you're on controller, what you can do instead is change these around. So turn off hold to fall slowly and turn on auto slow fall. So now when you leave the bird, you'll always be slow falling immediately, and you could just tap the space bar whenever you want to leave this mode. This might be useful for anyone that just really doesn't like holding down the space bar, you know, and you can just float very easily and then just tap the jump button and you'll be back on the ground. Pretty straightforward. Now, let's talk about aiming tips with Hela. I want to give you a way to think about aiming that is going to make it a lot easier to target pretty much anybody, but specifically characters like Spider-Man or Black Panther who are really slippery, but mastering getting shots on these targets is going to absolutely improve your game with Hela and give you so much more impact as a player. Now, let's look at Hela's attack speed here. If I'm holding down the attack button, it's fairly slow. Now, if we were to, instead of hold it down, actually consciously hit the button each time and slow down our fire rate just a little bit, what we can do instead of trying to track the target as it moves, especially on someone like Spider-Man, we can try to attack and then move our crosshair to where that target is going to be next. As you can see in this footage here, I'm predicting where the Spider-Man is going to swing to and moving my crosshair further and faster than the Spider-Man can move, because trying to track the Spider-Man as he's zipping around all over the place is really difficult. But if I instead put my crosshair in a place where I know he's going to be, micro-adjusting for that once he's there is very, very easy. Whether or not he's flying across the sky or moving up and down very quickly, as you play against more Spider-Man players, you'll notice that the animations and movement patterns are mostly the same. So you can predict where fast-moving players will be and move your crosshair quickly and fire once they come into your crosshair. The same can be done with characters like Black Panther. A Black Panther is typically going to dash this way, dash back, and dash back the other way, right? Instead of trying to track that across the screen, which is really hard, try and get your crosshair ahead of where the Black Panther is going to dash. If you know he's dashing this way, you can get your crosshair back over to here and your aim and focus here because you know he's going to dash back that way and you can catch him off like that, and it's far easier to hit your shots. Now, this isn't going to work with every character. Some characters just don't move that much. So if you're trying to move your crosshair to where they're going to be, you are going to reduce your accuracy. With somebody that's moving a little bit less frequently or less fast and less sporadically, just basic tracking is really going to do you a lot of wonders. Tracking is basically you just put your crosshair on the target and follow the target. Now, the best way you're going to get practice with this is jumping into the arcade mode and just going up against a bunch of different heroes. Every single hero has a different movement style. They might strafe at different speeds. They might have movement abilities that change the way they move. The only way you're going to get it in your head about how to sort of track each character individually and how to predict how they're going to move is by just getting as much experience as possible. Whilst you can perfect your aim to the point, well, I would say nobody can really perfect the aim, but you could master aim to a level where you're able to reactively respond to any sort of movement. Even if you've never played against a specific hero before, you could be able to be so good at aiming that you're able to respond well enough to hit that target. But that requires a very high level of skill. An easier way to be good at aiming with Hela, simply just learn the movement patterns of every single character. What's it going to look like when a Psylocke dashes, right? It's always going to be the same. She's not going to dash suddenly further every time, right? It's going to be the same distance. So you can use that. The same can be said with, say, a Hulk jump, right? When a Hulk jumps through the air, it's going to be the same sort of arc, right? Even though you can charge up the jump, it's going to be the same sort of movement speed through the air, the same sort of arc, and you can learn to predict that and make sure that your aim is either tracking them or jumping ahead to where they're going to move to. It can be done with every single character, even like an Iron Man, right? They move at the same speed. The animations are the same. Go and get some practice in arcade mode against as many different heroes as possible. And once you've understood how each character moves, you don't need to necessarily worry about your aim. It's more going to be a memory game of how is this character going to move across my screen? Where do I need to put my crosshair in preparation for them? And that's going to help you aim a lot better. Another important aim tip that I feel like a lot of people don't really think about, and you probably might even be doing it to some extent already, it's using your movement to micro-adjust aim. And this is really going to be useful on hit-scan characters like Hela. Let me show you. You don't have to only aim with your aim joystick or your mouse. You can also aim with moving. And to prove that, I've lifted my mouse off the ground. I'm not moving the mouse. I'm just moving. And I can aim with moving, right? So by combining my movement and my actual aim, I can make micro adjustments. So you saw that I missed there. We can make micro adjustments to sort of account for any aim errors that we might be having. And it's just really nice because you can get into a bit of a flow of controlling your aim with a mixture of your aim and movement. It starts to become a lot easier when other enemies are also strafing in other directions. No one's going to be just doing the same pattern all over. In terms of movement, by following this target with my own movement, the amount that I actually have to move my aim is reduced massively, right? Like I'm basically tracking this player just by using movement. So combining movement and aim, we're going to have a better chance of hitting our shots and less error in our shots before our aim skill even has to come into the question. Hopefully you found these sort of little tips for improving with Hela a little bit more useful. Another tip is always try and take off angles. I mean, this is just a typical tip for all characters, but it's really useful with Hela because you have that movement ability to get up on height and also to get away when things don't go so well. If you found these tips useful, please consider subscribing and I'll see you all in the comments. Cheerio.